I see. Chairman Busby is in the House, District 111 in Jackson County. Chair of Transportation, good morning, sir. Thank you, and thank you for coming in. You guys gavel in at 10 o'clock this morning.
Yes, sir. We got a lot of work to do. We got hung up yesterday. We didn't move through very many bills, so we got some catching up to do.
How long did that take? I gave up on you last night on the court system thing. That must have been a good. What was it? 2 hours at least?
Oh, it's
or
more
longer?
than that. It's probably about 5 hours. We didn't get out of there last night till 9 o'clock.
Oh, geez. It was, and I mentioned earlier, it was kind of sad to watch that because some of the questions were redundant. I couldn't do what you guys do. I couldn't, because I swear to you, when you ask the same question, it means you weren't paying attention, and you're keeping everybody here. So I think
there's a method to that madness. I think the idea is to try to get the sponsor of the bill upset, the presenter of the bill upset, and have him say something that he wishes he hadn't said. But Chairman Lamar held his own.
Oh, he did, and Troy did a great job. His comments that we can find, because to find the people appointed from just Hinds County compared to him, he said anywhere we could find the best and the brightest. That brought in racism, and that lasted another 2 hours. So let me switch back to this topic here. The retired public employees are keeping a close watch on the state capitol. They're worried. I think this is a story in the news, several places. They worried a pending bill would insert the legislature in some decision-making for the retirement system. For some background, the public employees around the state pay into the public employees retirement system, as we well know. House Bill 605 isn't the same as when Charles Busby first filed it, and I think you said that it's been hijacked. Now, explain for people who are just coming into this what the problem is, what your bill is, and how has it been hijacked?
Okay, the bill as I originally wrote it would have allowed retired teachers to return to the classroom and teach in Mississippi, retain their retirement benefits, and get paid the same salary as a first-year teacher. That's what my bill did.
That's it.
And that was all it did. Now, another issue popped up that I knew nothing about. Back in December, the PERS board voted to increase the employer's contribution to the retirement system from 17% to 22%. I think it's actually 17.4 to 22.4. But anyway, to go up by 5%. That is a significant hit to our cities, our counties, our school districts. The only mechanism by which they have to raise the revenue, which is estimated to be about $350 million across the state, is to raise everyone's property taxes. That's the only tax they really control. So we could have expected significant property tax increases across the state. Mm-hmm. As I sat with the mayor of Pascagoula and some city councilmen last Friday afternoon, we were talking about this, and we estimate the impact on the Pascagoula-Goche School District, city, and county taxes altogether. There'd probably be $6 million increase there in Pascagoula. Other areas such as Moss Point, the millage rate might be even higher because the mill isn't quite worth as much there as it is in Pascagoula. So the impact would be significant. We heard from the city of Hattiesburg, and I believe that Mayor Barker said that the impact there was going to be $1 million. And they were going to have to lay off 22 people. All right, so I was last week about this time, I was chewing nails. I was about as mad as I had ever been because I began to get phone calls from retirees about my bill, and I was so confused about what they were asking about. Until I finally got to the Capitol, and I pulled the current version of the bill up, and I saw that everything I had put in there had been gutted, and this new language about doing something with the PERS board was in there.
But you're still listed as the author.
I'm still listed as the author. That's right, and so I got to investigating what happened, and it turns out that that leadership just found this bill that had the relevant code sections in it, and so they decided that was the mechanism they were going to use, the vehicle they were going to use to fix this problem with the PERS board, and I just didn't know anything about it. And I don't think there was any malice in that. I just believe that, the speaker thought that this guy was going to tell me, and this guy thought the other guy was going to tell me, and this person thought the staff was going to tell me, and nobody told me.
Ron Higgins is the PERS executive director. He's on record as saying that the December vote, in December they voted to increase the employee contributions for long-term viability.
Employer contributions.
Employer, not the employee.
Not employee, yes.
The Board of Trustees voted to require, I think it was $345 million annually from the state and local government entities. Who pays what of that $345 million?
Well, it's
part government, it's part state government, and part local municipalities, is it not?
It's a big part of cities, counties, and school districts. That's the major piece.
They have to pay that. I mean, it's not to the point where there's any option, right?
Well, if House Bill 605 dies, there's not an option. At first I felt like I had been very badly wronged, and I had been wrong. There was no doubt about that. However, as I began to educate myself on the problem, what I began to feel like was someone had stolen my truck to carry the firemen to the fire. So this is something that I think needs to be done as I researched it. The only thing that the bill does is say if the PERS board is going to change the employer's contribution, they need to get approval from the legislature. That's all it says.
So in a way, in a roundabout way, what you're saying, and again, Charles Busby is my guest, Chairman Busby, is that if they have the power to actually cause millage rate increases, they need to go through the appropriation process in the legislature to do that.
Well, not necessarily the appropriation process, but they need to get approval from the legislature to do it, yes.
In the December vote, the districts, the county, the city government entities, the contribution of 17.4 from of the employee's paycheck, the board voted to increase the rate to 22.4. So what would this look like, and what power would be taken from that would be the only power taken from the PERS board?
That's correct. The only that would increase the employer's contribution. That's it. If the employer's contribution was raised by the board, they would have to get approval from the legislature.
So they're getting approval from the people one way or the other. That I can't imagine why it was set up this way in the first place, because I can't see where you'd have people who are going to be voting on their own retirement, as far as if it's a legislative mandate.
Well, it's a very powerful and pretty autonomous board, and I guess we had not seen such a significant increase in the past. An increase of this magnitude would be so detrimental. As I keep saying, cities, counties, and school districts, that we felt the need that we needed. Well, it wasn't my idea to step in. I didn't know anything about it, but leadership knew about it, and they felt they needed to step in. And my car was unlocked and sitting at the curb.
When you look at this, is that a point of viability now? Will that take care of it? I know that you have several things happening. You got a lot of baby boomers who are going into retirement. That's number one. Number two, to hit on that also, you got a terrible economy under Joe Biden. So the investments are not paying off like they're supposed to. Long term, you try to figure this thing out. Do you think that would do it?
No, I don't. I think we're eventually going to have to draw a line in the sand and say everybody that we hire after this date, we're going to have a different retirement system for. Would it be a hybrid type of private and public? Or I have no idea what it might look like. It just can't be this defined benefit plan that we currently have. Yeah. Now, that being said, there is nobody in this body or no one in this legislature that I've ever heard of that wants to renege on the commitment that's been made to current employees and current retirees. I think their benefits are not at risk whatsoever. All right. Some of the other bills that went through yesterday, we'll spend some time talking about that with the chairman of transportation. And how did the card bills come out so far? Where are they? Charles Busby, more with him coming up next.
Let's get back with Charles Busby and the Tesla, so-called Tesla bill. Where is that? What's the status of it?
The Tesla bill is over to the Senate. It passed the House and is now over to the Senate. I don't know what its fate will be over there. Just don't know.
What do you feel like because I understand there's quite a few members in the House and Senate who are angry at the PERS board for doing this. Do you think it's got a pretty good chance of passing as far as your bill?
I think there's a lot of concern about it. I think leadership is having conversations with leadership in the Senate. They probably don't want to spill blood on one side and then have it not taken up on the other side. We had some discussions about it yesterday, and my feeling is that there's never a wrong time to do the right thing, and I believe trying to stop that increase is the right thing. We've gotten letters yesterday from the Mississippi Association of Supervisors and from MML, a Mississippi Municipal League that represents our cities, and the supervisors representing our counties, asking that we take action on this because of how detrimental it will be to them. Every retiree I have gotten, believe me, I have gotten many phone calls from retirees over the last few days, and all but one, once I explained to them what we're doing and what the outcome is going to be if we don't do anything, all but one agreed with me and felt like that's something that we should do. So whoever's blasting these emails out are giving them half-truths and not telling them the whole story.
But if the increase is needed, and that's the increase that the board gave, and everybody agrees that the solidity of the PERS needs to have some infusion one way or the other, but the House and your bill basically says, well, the board can't do this, or even if they do, they have to have our approval. What's the change in this ultimately is the change?
Well, I think that's the point, Paul. We don't have the actuarial data that was used to make this decision. Once we have the actual data, maybe we can put our heads together and come up with a better plan rather than 5% all at once on our state agencies and
but
cities
they made
and counties.
The data they have are some financial research that led to that, did it not?
I would have to assume that would be the case, yes, sir, and I would like for them to share that with us, and let's make a decision together. And I don't see anything wrong with that. If the only way you could get into a situation such as this, where you have to have such a drastic increase in the employer's contribution, is that you have put it off in the past.
Yeah.
You've been putting this off for a long time, and now we're like jumping off a cliff to make it happen, and that's just not the way we ought to be doing it.
We made the changes to the employee and increased the new employees several years ago, and apparently that wasn't enough to put it back to even keel.
Well, it's kind of based on the investments.
Because we've dropped some pins since that time. Also, I understand.
Well, that's probably true, and we don't know about the investments that have been made. I think we lost a lot in the market last year. So we just want to find a different fix rather than putting all of this on our cities and counties and school districts, and we'd like to be a part of that. So that's what this bill does.
Well, the only thing there is just to have it come from the state revenue, the state tax dollars.
Could very well be, but
how many times is that going to happen without the people who are not in the PERS?
Exactly. As long as we continue to bring employees in, new employees in under this system, it's impossible to gauge how much it's going to take to finally make it right. And we just keep compounding the problem.
Now, here's the two-edged sword also, and I know some states are doing this. When you say you could get a better value for the taxpayers and you go to the private sector to privatize some of the services, you lose public employees. So then you lose the retirement system because the public employees are not paying into it. But that is kind of a two-edged sword that some states are feeling.
It absolutely is. But then if you're going to make an injection of state money to stabilize the program, at least you know what it's going to be if you've drawn that line in the sand and put everyone else in a different program from that date forward.
Yeah, and on the other side, people don't want to hear me say this, but on the other side, and we were talking to Willie Simmons yesterday, and they've lost so many people as far as engineers and good quality people who've gone to the private sector, certainly during the Trump administration when their value was even more important because the jobs and salaries were increasing because of that. But when you start losing those people that are there to serve you, your service is not as good.
You're
and
absolutely
then you
right.
start hearing both financially and in the service at the point of service, and then you start arguing about it, and you don't understand exactly what's happening, but that's one of the causations of that. So it is a vicious circle. Man, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it very, very much.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
What's going to be number one that you're going to be hit with?
I don't know what number one is, but I hope it's mundane and non-controversial, and we get through some of these dang things. We still got 125, 130 bills to go through by the end of the day tomorrow.
Maybe it won't have anything to do with the city of Jackson, and you guys will get out of there at a reasonable time. Thank you, Charles.
I hope so. Yes.